Big Salaams, brothers and sisters. Y'all welcome back to the Big Salaams podcast, hosted by me, your brother Abdullah Freeman. Alhamdulillah, we got a special guest in the building. We have brother Omar from Make Hijrah joining us. Brother Omar, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, those who may or may not know, just a quick background on Brother Omar. Brother Omar, originally from the United States, is one of the co-founders of MakeHijrah.com, a platform dedicated to helping Muslims rediscover and reconnect with the Muslim world. With over 2 decades of experience living abroad, Brother Omar creates powerful video content, writes thought-provoking articles, and is the author of the Hijrah Handbook and the Hijrah Roadmap. His mission is to challenge misconceptions about the Muslim world and inspire fellow Muslims to explore, relocate, and thrive in lands where their faith and values can flourish. So, Brother Omar, this is, mashallah, this is a big mission. You know, what inspired you to even get started with Make Hijrah? Like, what's the story behind that?
SubhanAllah. Okay, Bismillah. So, I became Muslim in 1994. And I became Muslim at the end of Ramadan, like the last day of Ramadan. And, or the night before the last day. So I had to fast right away. And I attended the Taraweeh prayer. And I didn't understand anything that was going on. And I'm not the type of person that just wants to parrot things without knowing the meaning. I'm not knocking anybody that may be in that situation, because we had elders, man, that they were Muslim for 30 years, 40 years. And they really didn't know what they were saying, or they were heavily reliant on translations. So for me, it didn't sit well with me to recite something and not understand what's being said directly from the source. Of course, you have translations and everything to help you out. But so my goal, even before I got married, was to go somewhere and study. So what was popular at that time was the University of Medina, and so I tried to pursue a scholarship to go there, and that didn't work for me. And as a matter of fact, I was like in my last year of high school at that time. So I still had the intention to try to learn Arabic at least, and learn a little bit, just enough to have a working understanding, because that's one of the elders had suggested that the Revert brothers, just get a working knowledge of it. You don't have to be fluent in speaking or anything, but just understand, basics. So anyway, at that time, there were a lot of dawah carriers that were going overseas to study and coming back. And back then we had tapes. I don't know if you know what a tape is, but anyway, we had cassette tapes. And that was before, right? CDs and everything. No, cassette tapes.
Oh, the cassettes. Like, yeah, the ones, the small mini ones. Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, man. I'm sorry, man, if I'm speaking over your head with those type of things. But we had cassette tapes, and the people were recording a lot. And you had these guys that were speaking what seemed to be at that time fluent Arabic. They were reciting ayahs and hadith and everything. So this was inspiring to a lot of us. Some people, they did it for different reasons, but some people really truly wanted to understand, So it was that led me to try to find a place where I can get, some basic knowledge of Arabic. And a place that many people were going at that time was Egypt. It was Egypt and Syria. So I had a couple friends actually that went to Egypt and came back, and they were telling everybody how it was and life was there and everything. So fast forward, it was some struggles in between those times in terms of like trying to financially figure out how you're going to do that, because you had to go and sit for maybe a year and a half. So finally, alhamdulillah, I was able to get myself and my small family away, alhamdulillah, over to study in Egypt. So we began our studies in Egypt, and after a while, I was thinking to myself, it really doesn't make sense to go back. I'm from a city called, it's the biggest city in Wisconsin. It's called Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And even at that time, the city was really going down. A lot of crime, uh, a lot of dysfunction, a lot of family dysfunction, and things like that. So I was thinking to myself, why would I want to raise my family? At that time, I had a small family, 3 children. Why would I want to raise them in that environment? After seeing, the peace, the care for other human beings, the Islam and culture, not necessarily. Uh, some people know, some people don't, but they just follow the culture and how they're raised. So it's kind of like a Islam that's practiced. You know, uh, just however everything goes is running in the society. So I saw that, and I just decided, nah, I think I'm just going to leave them here. I'm gonna let them benefit from being here, break the cycle that uh, I don't know if you could relate because I know you're from Africa, right? What country you from? Your
My
family?
family originally is from Liberia. They moved here my mother moved here in the 90s. My dad was here since the 60s.
Mashallah. So I mean, it's a unfortunately like um, it's a cycle it continues on. It's been going since before me, the generation before me, where it was just a cycle of criminality, um, a cycle of dysfunction, family dysfunction, and basically this is not all black folks. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying like where I'm from, it was like that was common that you would end up either uh, in prison or you end up dead or you end up on drugs or it was just that's just how it was. And even though we had a major university in the city, I didn't know anybody, from my peers that even planned to go to university. They could have caught the bus there. It's right over, down the street. But it just was a cycle, and it was a cycle that I didn't want my children to experience. So anyway, getting to answer your question, I stayed in Egypt for years, and I would go back and forth. I had a business in the States, and I would do that sometimes, and then I would stay sometimes. And at some point, I was kind of reckless in how I was dealing with immigration and things like that in Egypt. So I ended up going to jail in Egypt, and a few times. And the final time that happened, I said, "Nah, nah, I can't keep doing this. It just doesn't make any sense." So I started to explore. I went to um, Tanzania. I went to Zanzibar. I went uh, to the UAE. I went to Malaysia. But it was in Malaysia that I realized that um, the way that the way that Islam and Muslims are being presented in the West is like, it's a demonizing thing, and it's kind of like I don't know. It's hard to explain, but you start to see like people. I mean, what type of quality of life do you want? Is there any type of standard that you want? You can find it. You know, so that's when the idea came. I said, you know what? It was myself and a friend of mine. We were both there in Malaysia, and we said, you know what? We should promote making hijrah so people can appreciate the Muslims and what they're doing and the Muslim world, and maybe to encourage people to even Muslims that had immigrated to the States, like they went and they got higher education and everything. Like, why don't you come back and help your people? Why don't we make the Muslim countries great places to be? You know, and as you know, now I don't even understand what's going on in the States. Just to be honest with you, bro, like some of the stuff that I see,
To
I
be honest,
can't
brother
even believe
Omar,
it.
we
It
don't
doesn't make
understand what's
sense.
going
Like,
on in the States.
I mean, bro, look, man, I was looking at something. it's these people that leaning on the street, like leaning over, and I'm saying, what is this? Like, is this must be an isolated situation? But then you start to see it in other cities, and it starts to become something that people see. And in the beginning, they're like, okay, this is crazy. But then later, life goes on, and it just becomes normal to people. But for people that are not there and they're looking on the outside looking in, bro, this looks crazy because we had a crack epidemic in my time. So I'm still on crack. Like I'm still thinking crack, and I'm sure they move way beyond crack, right now. But crack people on crack, excuse me, people on crack were functional, man. Like they the ones that want to fix your car. They want to, can I wash your windows? They want to make money. They're active. But this thing now, I don't know what's going on, bro. I can't understand it. So it's like, and the longer you stay, the more obligations you have, the more, like you're tied down, and you just have to deal with those type of situations that are going on there. Even these all these young kids going to a place and just starting to raid places. Never unheard of, bro. Unheard of. But the reason for that, in my opinion, is that we were still scared of our mothers, man, and scared of our family. Like it was still something like we might do stuff, but we try our best not for them not to learn that we did that. It was still something there that prevented us from just going crazy and anything goes. You know what I mean? So I don't know what's going on, bro. And for a Muslim, especially being exposed to these things, and then even some Muslim children being involved in those things, it's like I don't see this is my personal opinion, of course. I don't see really what's keeping us there. Like I personally think that a good strategy is that we do take what's good from there, and and of course it's case by case, but we do take what's what we can get that's good, and then go ahead and give that back to our people. Why are we abandoning our people? It just doesn't make sense to me. Let me go. I'm a doctor. Okay, let me go over here and establish something that's going to make life in the country that I'm from, or to Muslims in general, make their lives better and make them the top destination for people to travel to and live. Anyway, man, I said a lot, but
You said it was fantastic. No, it's all
uh,
great information. You bring up a
yeah,
wonderful point that I spoke with some other brothers about just the environment itself that we have here, as far as the states, as far as Muslims. I myself grew up in the inner city, the hood, the ghetto, however you want to call it, and I can recall those things of seeing those things of walking home, having to be cautious because of stray dogs or crackheads or people
mhm,
just wanting to jump you or rob you, whatever, right? And one thing that was beautiful was because my family are like they are immigrants, going home was like going to a different country, right? Like my
mhm.
parents used to tell me, when you come in here, you're in Africa, right? When you
Right,
go out there, you're in America, right?
right,
So you
right.
get that duality. But for others who don't have that, it is something to where you may feel like you're stuck, or if you don't have a strong family structure, you don't feel like you have the access to be able to remove yourself from those things. Now, you
Right.
bring up some very beautiful points. Now, one thing I do want to ask is this, what was the defining moment when you were in Egypt that made you say, you know what, I'm done with Milwaukee, right? Like, this is it. What was that moment for you that you're like, I have to be here. I have to make Hijrah.
You know, I have to give you some background. In Milwaukee at that time, I think it's the same. I don't think it's changed much, but at that time,
Milwaukee's not
we were
that great.
all spread out though. Like
Oh.
you Muslim,
Yeah,
but
it's very segregated if I'm not mistaken, right?
that too, because you have North Side, that's black folks, and then you have South Side, that's Hispanics, and then you have suburbs like bordering those areas, that's like out on the outskirts. Those are mainly white communities, but there's mixture there. Like the lines get blurred as you move to the next section of town. But the thing about it was that the Muslims were spread out, and the only real community feeling you get is on Juma, or if you're having little invitational events and things like that, and personal events and things like that. But people have to come to you. You need a car, man. People have to come from here and there in order to be together. And I don't remember. I think they tried to build like a small community in the west side of the city. That was a little apartment building that had a musalla in it and things like that. But generally speaking, like everything was just spread. Everything spread out. So you're mixed, right? And to some people that's normal. That's common. Like, and for me that was common as well. So when I saw an actual Muslim country, of course it's going to change your perspective, you know. And one of the things was that we had neighbors, and when I used to, back then we had something called a boombox. I don't even know if you know what that is, but
Oh,
anyway, we had
that's what you put the cassette tape in. I remember that. I remember
that's what you
boombox.
put the cassette in, right? So I had a boombox and I had a tape of a Quran tape, and I would play it, and the neighbors would come down and be like, can you turn that down? Can you turn that off? You know, and and then also they had a young girl, a young teen girl that, and she would always have boys over there. And you know, without being too explicit, you can hear everything through the ceiling. You know, we were on the ground floor, they were on the top floor, and you know, it was just things like that. That's like, you know, no matter how bad a Muslim might be, it's certain lines they don't cross. You know what I mean? And that's what I learned living amongst Muslims. Like even your neighbors, like the neighbors used to come, they used to look after us, they used to take us to different places, and you know, they even helped us when we had our first daughter there. They helped us. You know, it's just a different feeling altogether. And on top of that, it was like the second place we moved to. The first place we didn't stay long. We just because we just had to grab it. So we found some actual place that we actually liked, an apartment. And the apartment's right on top of a musalla. So the van is right there, bam. And then not to mention all the other places that you hear the adhan. That's something about Egypt, that the adhan is, it's like masjids everywhere, musallas, masjids, everything. So it was just that experience that made me realize, like, what am I going back to? Like I'm not the person that's trying to be the imam or trying to be a teacher or something like that. That wasn't my thing. My thing was really personal. It was deeply personal. So it was for me no reason to go back, you know. And then on top of that, I know how it goes, man. I've been there. You know, I've been there, I've done that. I grew up there. So I know that the streets have more of an effect on the children, generally speaking, than the parents do. And bearing in mind that it's rare to find stay-at-home mothers. It's rare to find a father that actually knows their children. That's a big thing. You know, like I used to take my sons everywhere. My daughters know me. You know, my sons know me personally. It's not like here I'm in and out. I come from work and then I'm in the bed and go back to, you know, they go to school and they have their own separate lives. No, it wasn't like that. So for me, it was like that. You know, I go to school, my mother go to work, come home, she tired, I'm in the streets, whatever. So her influence was limited. So it was those things, man. It was not just one thing, but it was those things that made me realize like the importance of family. Like that's just embedded. When you go to the Muslim world, everywhere I've went, family is embedded, bro. And I think you know that, man. Like dealing with your family that's coming from a different culture, you know family is very important, you know, and you can see it. And it's funny because my son was saying, I'm coming from this thing like this America thing, and they really weren't raised there. So when I talk about certain things, they say, you know what? He said, Abby, you know, when we see a man and a woman walking down the street, the default is that they're married. That's the default for them. It's not that what you thinking, like, oh, that boyfriend, girlfriend, like
Wow.
that's me. I'm thinking like that. And them, they're like, no, the default is this. The exception may be a boyfriend, girlfriend scenario. But what we see are families. And that's the reality. And another brother told me that, by the way, and I kind of was on that thinking, but he really brought it home. He was like, I respect these people. Because sometimes you have people that you may not view as being that religious, and that's faulty as well. But we won't have to talk about that now. But he was saying that I respect him because I see a father putting a car seat in the car and taking his wife to wherever out to eat and doing family activities together as a normal thing. This is what they do. It's no, it's shunned upon for a woman to be, or a little girl, 17 years old or whatever, to get pregnant. And this is just something that's, the system itself doesn't support it. Because if a 17-year-old got pregnant, she would be unable to get a birth certificate in a lot of these places, which means that the child won't have a life. They can't go to school. They won't be recognized as anything. They can't get passports. They can't get anything. So that right there is enough for people to think twice about doing that type of activity. And they look at that as something that's a stage in building a family. It's not just, hey, let's lay around. Now, I'm not saying people don't do it, but I'm saying that that's not the normal case. The normal case is that people, they're going to get married. That's just a given. At one day they're going to get married. They're going to have a family. They're going to have children. So it's those type of things, man, that made me say, like, why would I go back there? And one last point, and it's not to expose anybody that knows me, but a lot of my friends had those problems, man. Like, daughter come home, they just wanted to go get a job or do something, and they gave them a little bit of freedom, and then they come home pregnant. Go ahead, bro. My fault.
No,
Go ahead.
subhanallah. I'm listening to the information you're giving, and it's like, it's just hearing the perspective that, like, for example, just that perspective shift that your children had in comparison, right? Like, because I'm like you. If I see a man and a woman together, I'm like, okay, what are they doing? I'm
Right.
suspicious. I'm not assuming that it's something
Right.
halal, it's something like,
Right. Right.
love, family is what you're saying, right? So, you know, one thing I have a question about now that's a great transition as far as family is, how were you able to convince your spouse to take you and three children and say, all right, hey, we making Hijrah, right? Because this is another point of contention, right? Between spouses and how you raise the children and just that agreement, right?
Okay, so um, I had the blessing to have a family that was very supportive, and initially our intention was just to study Arabic, so it wasn't Hijra or anything like that, and it became like that after we experienced life in living in the Muslim world. I have a point about that as well. That's kind of offshoot, but it's important. So uh, my family didn't want to go back anyway. So it was like, I found that out later after I decided that. I was like, look, no, it don't make sense to go back. And they were like, we didn't intend to go back anyway. It was support, you know. But I have to say something, man, here because uh Egypt at that time was not the prettiest, um, wasn't the prettiest place coming from where we come from, especially up north, where you have a lot of grass, a lot of trees. If you travel somewhere, you're going to go through a lot of farmland, a lot of beautiful scenery and clean scenery. Um, so moving there was an adjustment, but I never really, I never really gave it consideration. Like I wasn't like, you know what, I can't stand this desert and this dust. I want to go back. That wasn't it. You know, it was just so much more. Um, it was giving so much more than just a grass and trees, you know. And I valued that, you know, how my how my children were developing, um, seeing the opportunities that um, I didn't have that they have. Um, I was told when I was growing up that I had four sisters, right? And I met my father maybe about, I can count like five times, right? So those sisters were those his daughters that I never met, right? And I was basically the only child with my mother. So that family, those family dynamics, I didn't feel it. I never had it, you know. So watching them grow up together, it was it it was something that really changed my perspective, because my sons have sisters. Their their look towards women is totally different. They don't see women as sexual thing. They don't that doesn't exist with them really. And I'm not trying to exaggerate or anything. That's just the reality. When you love your sisters, and even I've seen people that in the states that had siblings, like I'm talking about, like a male and a female, a brother and a sister, and their relationships are not good. And that's not everybody. I'm just saying, they're always arguing, always fighting, always whatever. And I didn't experience that. I didn't experience that with my children, and I'm not saying they're special. It was just they love each other, and they care. It's like I was telling my son the other day. I said, "You can't even really say." I said, "If somebody did something to your sister, and they no, it's like, brother, you can't. Don't look at her a certain way." And all their friends they grew up with are the same. Nobody disrespects anybody's mother or their sisters. We grew up making fun of people's mothers, making fun of your sister, crossing the line all the time. But it's known the way that they're raised in an environment where family means something. That it's just, you just don't cross the line. So it's just, bro, I'm sorry, man. I'm taking you on a different trajectory, but I'm just trying to tell you, bro. Like, for me, this Hijrah is not a gimmick thing. It's not a trying to be ultra religious thing. It's just something that works in line with your fitra, who you are as a person, and how Allah made you as a person. It's like nothing. Nobody's questioning their deen. Nobody's. I mean, I'm talking about within our circles, unless they have influence from somewhere else. Generally speaking, it's just like pray. That's normal. Fast. That's normal. Hajj. Okay. Respect for prophets. Respect for. Nobody's talked bad about a prophet ever. It's just something. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you'll have cartoons, and by the way, kids are watching this, where they're making fun of Jesus, or they got God as a person in the sky or something like that. It's just like, and you see it so much, you begin to take it as a joke. And here, no, like, that's no way. Like, what are you talking about, bro? Talk about a prophet. We ain't even talking about Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. We talking about any prophet. If nobody's going there. So it's just things like that. That make you realize, like, okay, if I'm Muslim and I care about my deen, and I'm not there for a specific reason. Like, maybe I'm in the States because I'm giving dawah. Maybe I'm in the States because I'm doing business and I'm whatever. If you're there just relaxing, I don't understand, unless we've been completely desensitized, how we can accept the behavior of people around us. And not only that, the way we're portrayed in the mainstream media, the way we're disrespected in the mainstream media, the way we're disrespected on the ground. I'm sorry, man. One last point. This stuff that's happening in Texas, and I mean, I'm sure it's happening in other places. They tried to do it in Minnesota. It didn't really work that well. But in Texas, or in Florida, I saw it in Florida as well, where these guys are coming and standing in front of people praying and disrespecting the prophet and all these things. Bruh, I don't know what's going on. It's no way, bruh. I don't know if I don't know why we accept that. It's like certain places you can't go. I'm sure probably can't go to Indianapolis with that. And they definitely can't go. They can't go to Milwaukee for sure. And they can't go, maybe the south side Milwaukee, because that's, a different thing. But north side Milwaukee, you can't go with that. Philly, you can't go with that. New York City, you can't go with that. No, I don't understand what's happening here. It's just open disrespect where you don't find a Muslim doing the same thing. If Christians are praying or something,
It's a lot of picking and
nobody bothering
choosing
them.
by these individuals. Definitely, it's certain places they won't go to do
They know
certain
who they
stuff.
can do
Yeah,
it to.
exactly.
Yeah, they know who they can do it. But it's a natural. The thing about it is, man, it's not being tough. It's a natural reaction as a man, that if you come over here with that, I'm not trying to threaten you, but it's not going to be easy. They don't even bother. Like, they're not going over there with that. They're like, nah, these dudes. But
No, brother
for
Omar,
some reason,
let me let me interject because it's a good
go ahead.
segue to the next question I was about to ask you, right? Because right now you have the
Okay, go ahead.
situation in Texas where like Florida and these places where Muslims are being disrespected openly. Now, the
Right.
reason we could probably assume, maybe, I'm not saying these brothers are weak. May Allah give them tawfiq. These are our brothers. We love them in
I mean,
Islam. Like,
mm,
this is when they disrespect them, they disrespect us, right? There's no difference.
that's right.
But the thing
Yeah.
is this: some of them live in more affluent communities, right? And they have more affluent
Mm,
jobs, more money. So maybe they're a little less hands on, because they're afraid to lose those things. Now, the segue I want to bring in is this: you come from the States, right? And you've seen what is here. You know the system inside and out, right? And this is one reason why I love my Black American brothers and sisters, the Muslim brothers and sisters, because it's very real, authentic, and it's so much education you get about. And also, if you grow up here, growing up with them, like you just know about the system. Now, for somebody who comes from a Muslim land, let's say I come here because it's been chaos in the Muslim world the last 100 years since the ending of the Khilafah. March 3rd, was
mm,
it 1924? That was the last time we had a
mm,
Khilafah, right? It's been chaos ever
right.
since, especially the last like 50, 30, 50 years is really ramped up. So if somebody came to you, they said, Brother Omar, you mentioned this, but you from here, you know what it's like. I know what it's like in Somalia, Egypt. You don't really know the real side. I know the chaos that's there. I was driven out, right? I don't want to go back. This is my home now.
Mm.
What would you say to that person? Or you say to the Muslims who are here and they've acquired better lives and they're afraid to lose these things? What would you say to them?
Well, I mean, normally I learned a long time ago that you know everyone has their own perspective and their own point of view, and if you want to ask me, like if they asked me and they wanted advice, then I'll give it to you. But the thing is that as you get older, you realize that the life is is limited. The time that you spend in here is, bro, you're gonna be gone. That's a fact. Like anything else, maybe I get this degree, maybe I make $1 million, maybe I whatever. But death, that's certain. That's for sure. There's no doubt about that. So the question then is, how do I want to go out? Like, what state do I want to leave this world in? You know, and where can I go that's going to make it easier for me to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? That's really the question. Is me staying in Milwaukee going to, or any place where I'm, it's hard. I don't, but look, I realized something really interesting. I'm used to people praying five times a day in the masjid. Like that's regular. That's not a strange thing.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was in the States, I can't remember a time where I prayed 5 times a day in the masjid. It would be literally Yom Juma. That's it. And I'm not saying anything bad about anybody. Like, we pray wherever we are, especially in the States. You go pray in the corner, you go pray over there, wherever it's time. When it's time to pray, you pray. But I'm just saying that here it's normal. Even if you're working in a company, they have a place where you can pray. Like, you find it's time to pray, it's normal for people to go and go pray. So it's making it easier for you to practice your obligations. Ramadan come, bro. Look, a brother asked me one time in the States. He was like, "Is it Ramadan?" I'm like, "You don't know if it's Ramadan?" you know. So I mean, because if you go to Juma, at least they're gonna tell you Ramadan next week. But in these places, it's Ramadan because the guy setting up this. There was a brother that was talking to some people here, and he was saying that um, you know he was talking about being in the States and blah blah blah. And the guy said, I didn't. While I was in the States, when I was living in the States, he was an Egyptian guy. He said, "Man, I didn't fast for Ramadan for 20 years." And I'm like, and when he told the story, I'm saying, what that got to do with, like, you fasting why are you not fasting? Like, I don't understand. But it just shows that, okay, but when you came here, now you're fasting. So it's the thing about it, man, is that for all this stuff, man, I saw a guy in a Lotus, right? And I don't even know what that is until, because it said Lotus on the back of it. So I know it's like, this is a sports car. And when I'm looking at it, I'm saying, I honestly don't have any desire to have something like that. Everybody's into their own things. I understand. Some people like cars, some people like, different things. But uh the in some places, here, let me tell you the story, then I'll wrap it up with this. Look, when we went to Zanzibar, every time I go to Zanzibar, I had a friend that moved there, and then we were setting up shop there and everything. That's a whole nother story. But whenever I go visit, I decided to go buy a couple shirts and some new shoes and things like that. The first time I did that, I realized that the value of these shoes is all in my head, because nobody there knows what these shoes are. It only matters if you know what type of shoes I'm wearing. If you don't know what it is, it doesn't matter to you. And I realized that everybody has, ship ships. Everybody has the what do you call the ship ship?
Sandals, the
The sandals. So, yeah.
flip flop. Yeah.
Every everybody's wearing flip flops, and you're the only one going into the masjid trying to hide your shoes so nobody steals them, right? So to me, it's like that's a clear indicator to me that we've been tricked to think that these things actually matter. And even the people in those countries, the guy that used to take us around, he took us to the land that his father had, and that he obviously it's his family's land. And they had mangoes and all kind of stuff on the land. And he was like, he doesn't care about this land. He just wants to go to America, right? And then I'm thinking to myself, like, but none of these guys are starving. It's not like what people might think. Like, these guys are strong, thick forearms, like they working, you know, and they're not hungry, right? The problem is they want an iPhone. That's the problem. And they want the Nikes. You see what I'm saying? Because this is what they want the money for. It's not because they need to eat, you know. So when you want to chase the dunya, you're gonna leave all of that behind. All of that's gonna be stay here, and they're gonna be fighting about it while you going, you know. So for those folks that, they want to stay and, oh, I built my life over here and this, that, they just have to figure out, like, what's the priority? What's more important? Because a lot of times these guys, they work so hard and their families are falling apart.
Yep.
I remember a sheikh that used to come to the city. He wasn't from Milwaukee, but he used to come there. He set up something. Maybe he had some sponsorship. Now I'm thinking about it. Back then I didn't think about it, but now it's like, how is he supporting himself? How is he whatever? He obviously has some backing. His son came one time to visit him. And so the sheikh, he has a big beard. I think he's originally from Pakistan or something like that, and thobe and all that stuff. And his son is like, tucked in shirt, clean shaven. And when we start talking about things, like especially religious things, he seemed to like not be interested or even want to argue about it. Like, he has a whole different way of thinking. And I'm thinking to myself, like, hold up, Sheikh. Like, why are you here with us and you ain't there with your family? You know what I mean? Like, why is your son coming here like this and you worried about teaching us something? You know? So again, bro, it's like, come on, man, what's our priorities? What's the link to what you're saying? It's like, okay, I got, in that case, it was kind of the opposite thing. But people are so tied into getting things in this world, in this worldly life, that they forget about the hereafter. And then even let's say that people care about the hereafter. It's like, okay, so what's the priority? Is it making America great? But I'm not from here. Like, Uslan, I'm from somewhere else. Is it about making America great? Why do I care about making America great? And all my family is back in Pakistan. It's just a weird thing. So again, I think it has to do with something else. Maybe um, uh, looking up to people, thinking that people are superior to you, always following behind what they're doing instead of you being the innovator and creating your own lane. As long as you follow them, you're always going to be behind them. It's only when you start to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take this route, and you start innovating yourself. That's when other people start to follow you and you become the leader. And that's the case. Last point, I always use China as an example because, of course, they try to downplay China a lot, but bruh, China is light years ahead. I'm just telling you, when it comes to development and technology, they took their own track. And I believe personally, that's what the Muslims should be doing. They should say, okay, we got to live in this dunya because you have that problem in some places, and it's clear that okay, we don't care much about certain things, and then it makes the place look bad. Like if you don't care about what the streets look like and what this, but in my room it's orderly and clean and things like you had that problem in some places, but we need to figure out how we can make it comfortable for ourselves to practice our religion and put things in place that help us build ourselves as a Muslim ummah. And last but not least, finally, when you travel, you start to see the the benefits of different people. Like if you go to Egypt has some very creative people, right, and very intelligent people, right. And then you go to a place like Kazakhstan, and you find warrior people. Like these guys, they're not nobody you want to play with. Like those are like a warrior class and they're the ones that stand up for the rights of the Muslims and things like that. It's not just Kazakhstan; it's that whole area. The Dagestans. We all
Dagestan.
know,
Yeah, where
yeah,
Khabib
the
come from in
Uzbekistans.
that area. That
Yeah,
uh-huh.
bruh. Nah, I know these guys from here. Like a lot of them guys are here, man. They're always working out. They're always training, and they'll go to a gym and they'll block off a section of the gym and they're back there training. Like these are our warriors, right? But the way that you make us weak is by dividing us all up to where we don't feel a connection to one another as Muslims. So they're over there, and we're over here. And if we think about it for a second, bro, how many of us it is, and how much benefit we can provide to one another to keep us distracted, they divide and conquer us. Now it's not it's if it's a problem, it's going to be Egypt problem. It's going to be Sudanese problem. It's going to be Libyan problem, Pakistani problem, the Gulf country problem. It's not a Muslim problem. Do you see what I'm saying? To where we can offer help and assistance to one another. No, it's the divide and conquer. The Muslim world is backwards. All what they doing over in America, they doing over in the Muslim world. Like all this kind of weird. But anyway, bro, go ahead, man.
You bring up wonderful points because everything of what you're saying is we have just the wrong priorities, right? This is the biggest
Mhm.
overall thing. One sheikh, I remember he said, we get 40 hours a week to work, which you have to because you have to live, you have to feed yourself in
Mhm.
America, right? Or anywhere.
Right.
But he said, do you
Mhm.
give at least 4 hours to Islam, right? To whether it's Quran, learning your Farad Ain, whether it's Hadith,
Mhm.
just things that better yourself as a Muslim. One
Mhm.
sheikh, I love what he said. He said, another sheikh, but he said, every day as a Muslim, you should try to learn something, whether it's Deen or
Mhm.
Dunya. So then that way,
Mhm.
you increase and treat every day you don't learn something as if you died, right?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
we've entered, like you stated, this thing of where this created value, the perception, right? Like, oh man, I gotta buy these new Jordans that release. Oh yeah, I'm gonna kill them with these. Oh yeah, pull up to the
Right.
masjid. Yeah, all
Right.
right. But now you scared, right? Now you don't have khushu and
Mhm.
salah because it's like, oh, after the salah, I need to taslim out and run and go get my shoes before somebody steal these,
Right.
right?
Right.
Or I need to go hide
Mhm.
these before. Whereas, like you're saying, when it's a more
Right.
simple society that has different priorities that are focused on the real things of life, you don't have that urge or that the rat race as we call it, where it's
Right.
just like, okay, hey, gotta keep moving, gotta keep moving. you know.
Right.
And I think
Mm.
that's something that we as a people need to think about more. And I mean, let me ask you this: how do you think in the states we can implement this more or get people to start thinking this way? Because I've had this discussion with some people, right? Like, okay, what do you think about the concept of making hijrah? Because the way things are going, right? I don't know how things are going to be the next 5 years, 3 to 5 years. America, anything can happen at this point in this country, which will have ripple effects around the world. So as I was talking to this person, they're like, no, we have to be here because we're giving dawah. Allah put us here. Like, we can't just run back to our countries because it's a system thing, right? So what would you say
Mm.
we need to do as Muslims in the West to try to reshift our perspective to, uh, I guess, better align ourselves to either making hijrah or just trying to rectify our situation here a little more, you know?
I don't think it's realistic to think that everybody will make Hijrah. I don't think that at all. And I think it is strategic that we remain in certain places and we open the doors to certain opportunities around the world, because now it's easy to go from here to there in a few hours. Before, it may take you a month or walking across the desert or whatever to get from here to there. So we can't be like, just what do you call it? Extreme and how we see things. So a person should not even have a problem with someone else making hijrah. And then in fact, it should be like encouraged. Like, okay, you feel you can't take it? Go ahead, man. It's a place in such and such that you can, that you might like over here. You might, I think that we should be like that. And then on top of that, like for people who decide to stay, we have to be honest and say, okay, why are you staying? Okay, I'm staying because I'm doing dawah. I'm staying because we got this business over here. I'm staying because whatever. And I think that it just has to make sense thinking in a communal way and not as an individual, because that's something that in the States that you're taught, like it's about me. Yeah, it's what I got. It's not about what we have. It's about what I have, right? So I think the masajid, I think the imams, I think all of them should say like, look, don't just discount it. Absolutely. Like some people, bro, I've met people that have to leave. They can't stay. Why? Because if they stay, they have a drug problem. Let's just be honest. They have a problem with women. They go right back to the neighborhood and bam, they start going back to where the girls are. Or they'll slip right back into smoking that whatever. So that being the case, they can't stay there. And they've left to places where they can't find those things. So even if it's in the States, even if you can go to a better place, where your family won't be affected, you won't be affected. All of us have our problems, and that's kind of the balad that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave everybody. Like you have an issue. So if you know you have this issue, why are you staying in a place where that temptation is the strongest? Why don't you go to another place, wherever it is, another city, another place, where you can kind of conquer those demons? That's strategic. You know what I'm saying? It's not about, the Hijrah bros and the this, that. Nah, bro, why are we fighting each other? Like, what you talking about? Hijrah is actually a solution for a lot of people. And it may not be a solution for others. Other people might be, okay, well, our community is safe and this, that, and the other. I'm not saying leave that. That's not what I'm saying. But at the same time, your role could be to support those that need to leave. Because there are those brothers, I'm sure you know brothers like that, man, that they just
100%.
can't stay out the streets. And the temptation is always there. So it makes sense for them to say, okay, I need to get out of this environment. This is the environment I'm used to. This is the environment I know, and it's dragging me down. So I need to go somewhere else where those temptations don't exist. That's hijrah, bro. That's a form of it. Do you see what I mean? So again, if a person has a reason to be there, that's a valid reason. If you want to look at like Islamic rulings and things like that, then that's between him and whoever he's consulting with. If he goes to a sheikh and say, "Look, sheikh, what do you think?" This that he should do that. He should say, get somebody with more knowledge, more understanding to give you advice, and then make a decision. But this whole idea of, okay, that brother's calling the hijrah and we're not, what's he talking about? We're Americans and I'm not leaving my country, all that stuff. Come on, bro. Some people have to leave. I'm just saying that some people have to go. Some people's, you don't have, not you, but generally speaking, maybe that brother from Pakistan doesn't have the problems I have living in the States. He just doesn't. My children identify with people that look like them. And that's one thing. My son went back to the States and he refused to go to the Arabs. He refused. He don't have a problem with nobody. He grew up here, but he refused to go over there. He wanted to deal with his own people. Now, if his own people are into crime or into whatever, it don't even have to be crime. It could be they're law-abiding citizens, but they're into chasing women or they're into drinking or they're into whatever they're doing, then he'll be influenced by that because that's the people that he's around. So so all of us have these challenges and we have to kind of identify those. And based on that, we have to do what's going to be best for us in our hereafter because we know that this is ending. I'm sorry to tell people like this is gone. Like you'll look around and you have a gray beard like mine and you stuff start to break down. I can't lift weights like I used to or whatever. You realize, man, I'm on my way out of here. And I say something else too, because my mother was like really active. I mean, she go to aerobic classes. She search out this stuff. And the young girls couldn't hang with her because they just sitting around and they don't have no muscles or whatever the case. And she's just going like out, that class is an hour and she's going the whole time. And she's in her 60s, right? Now, my mother can't walk from one place to the other without feeling pain because she had a back problem. So she's in constant pain. So it's just, and I see her and it's sad to me because that's my mother and I remember her, more active, but that's the reality of life, bro. That's what's happening. You're going to slow down. If Allah give you a long life, you're probably most likely going to slow down and things are going to start to change for you. And you're going to realize that I'm on my way out of here. And you should be realizing that now. You should realize that now. Don't wait till you get like that because then you done squandered your whole life off. Realize
Looking at
that
stuff.
now.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Bruh, look at it. Look at it, man. Hijrah, let's just put it this way. If I'm living in the hood and I go out and dudes on the corner and people asking me if I got work or if I got this, that was my life, bro. Dude will pull up to me like, yo, you got some work? I got some work. You don't even know who I am. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, I could be the police, bro. Like, what you talking about? People riding all up on that. Man, Milwaukee is out of this world. People riding up on the sidewalk, like what is going on here?
Shout
And
out
this is the
Milwaukee, man.
environment.
Shout out Milwaukee.
Bro, man, this is the environment I want to raise my kids.
No.
I'm telling you, man. Like I can go deep. I'm just not going deep. But
Brother
I can
Omar,
tell you.
let
Go
let's
ahead.
let me ask you this now, right? Because it brought up something, it sparked something in my head. We've talked about the benefits of making the hijrah, right? And why the cons that I hear, and of course the pros that I hear. What are some of the cons of making hijrah?
Yeah. Okay. If you ask me, because it's a little different for different people. Because if you come from a strong family, like everybody's really tight, that can be a con for you, right? I miss my brothers and sisters. I miss my aunts. I miss all them, the family gatherings and all that. That could be a problem. It could be the community. Maybe you come from a strong community and everybody's real tight. And when you leave, you don't find that same sense of community in another place. So that can be considered a con. Another con can be that it's easy for you to find work, easy for you to hustle even because you know the culture or whatever. And you go to another place and those opportunities are not there. It's not the same, you know. So that could be a con. Other things, it depends. Like if you love your people, like your people's culture, and you go to a new culture, it's not the same, you know. And even though they may embrace you, but you'll never really be one of them. So you might feel the disconnect there. That could be a con. Again, maybe you have access, like you have access to maybe you don't own a lot of things, but you have access. Like I could drive this, I can get there, I can move around the way I want. I know where stuff is at. That familiarity that's there. It could be a con when you go to a place and you don't know what to do and you don't know where to go and how to move. You know, so those are cons, and I can knock all of those out with other benefits. But speaking frankly and honestly, sometimes like you said, you asked me about family. Sometimes the family is not they're not on it like you are, and it breaks up family sometimes. That's definitely a con. You know, you might start to lose your children because you put them in situations that they're not used to, and a lot of times completely unnecessary. Like you come there, you so gun ho, and you put them in environments that are like completely foreign to them. I'm not talking about language or anything. I'm talking about like it might be, you know, a small little apartment with roaches and whatever, and the neighborhood is dirt roads and you know donkeys, and you might put them in there trying to pay $20 a month and end up like having them hate it. Even if you too like you have to even religiously, some people are like can be extreme about things, and by being extreme, it turns the family against what you want. Like you want them to memorize Quran, but you got them with some guy that with a stick, that's beating them across the knuckles and all that kind of stuff. Of course, it's a con if they start to hate the Quran. You know, so again, bro, that it takes some wisdom, man. Like we can't just, we have to be balanced and really try to understand what we're trying to achieve. And it doesn't your kid doesn't have to learn the Quran in 3 months. Like give them a class that lasts a few years to where they love it. You know, they may not be hafiz right away, but over time and exposure, they just love it and they read on their own. And that's another thing, real quick, bro. Because you asked about cons, but I had to mention this. I showed a brother a picture, right? And the reason I took the picture was because I was amazed. My son was reading. He was reading a book and he was into that book. So I just turned and I snapped a picture and it made the sound like the click sound. And that didn't stop him. Like that just was like whatever. He didn't even flinch on that. So I showed him the picture. I said, bro, how often do you see this these days? People that they don't have a tablet, they don't have a phone, they're not playing games. They're just sitting there reading and into it, you know. So, it's just it's the trade-offs, man. Yeah, okay, some cons. Yeah, but there's some trade-offs there that you can't put a sign of value to that. These kids like, yo, they take their books where they go. And we're not talking about, okay, religious books all the time. We're just saying the idea of reading and imagination and reading something and visualizing it in your head. And I wasn't a reader growing up. So, but I'm just saying, like, you create the environment. Okay, I don't want no phones and tablets and this, that. Nobody's gonna say anything about that. That's the thing. It's not like a teacher's gonna come and say, why you're not letting them stimulate this or that. Nobody's gonna say anything. As a matter of fact, last point, man, virtue. Virtue. It's to a point where people can't see virtue anymore. If a person my son came to state, he's gonna be mad that I'm saying this, but he went to the States and somehow it came out that he's a virgin. His dad's side of the family is Muslim, right? So they begin to make fun of him and go around other family members. He's a virgin. It's they don't even respect the fact that this man is holding himself until he gets married. Like, shouldn't that be something good? It's not. It's
You
not
know,
good.
to interject on that
Go
real
ahead.
quick, that
Okay.
really, that specific case reminds me of the hadith about Islam being something strange
Yeah.
and then starting as something strange and in the end it'll be something strange because like
Right.
that fact alone, should be something that's normal for Muslims, but it's not in our current time and era. But continue.
Bro, listen, I'm just saying, like, the virginity thing is expected. That's an expectation, and it's not even that I gotta guard it. It's people have enough respect for themselves, especially girls. They like, no, like, this is we have to stop exposing them to these different ideas to where Muslims come and say, am I a boy or a girl? Muslims, is this a thing? This is not a thing, bro. I'm just telling you, it's not a thing. In the Muslim world, it's not a thing, or you're a boy or girl, because everything revolves around that. The rules and everything revolves around that. You can't take it away. Even if they try to make a movement for this, it would never work, because men have certain things they're responsible for. Women have certain things they're responsible for. The way this whole system is set up is based upon male and female, and it's not an oppressive thing. It's just, this is how it goes. These are the rules. Okay, a woman can't pronounce divorce on her husband just because. Like, she can't get up and be like, you know what, you divorced. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
There's a whole different way that a woman goes to get that. And the man, on the other hand, he can say, you're divorced. He can say that, right? So it's just, but you can't implement anything like that unless you know that this is a man and this is a woman. And that's just one example. That's a marriage example. Two men can't marry here. They can't. Two women can't marry. But you have to know that this is a woman and this is a man, and even for that to make sense, right? So over there, though, look, check this out. We have young guys that, like, my peers' children, right? So one of them, he was our neighbor. We know the family very well. He came and he said, look, man, my age, like around 27, is under below this age. Now they think totally different when it comes to certain things like homosexuality and these type of topics. For them, it's like, well, they're human beings. They're, this is their choice. This is the 27 and under, and then the 27 and above are extremely homophobic, and not because we told them to be. It's not because we say, hey, man, look, I never had this conversation with my sons ever, like, about homosexuality, and it just wasn't a thing to talk about. But when they start to hear it, they're very upset about that concept. They can't imagine that. But nowadays, it's really this fluidity that's going on, where people are introduced to these subjects at an early age, which it blurs the lines. So it's not strange that they will experiment. Without going into any detail, I think you can take it from there, like in your imagination, that a child, if they're exposed to this, if they're saying, the teacher's like, okay, you're going to be this character, you're going to wear a dress and this, that, it's okay, no problem. Unless the parent comes and say no. But generally speaking, they're just blurring the lines, and they say, okay, well, you can be this if you want to. If you feel this way, you can do that and this, that. We never had that, bro. We that's something new. And unfortunately, Muslim children are being exposed to it, which is going to lead them down a really confusing path. You see what I'm saying? So for us to be like, no problem, America's great, whatever. Okay, fine. But the reality is something a little bit different. The traditional way goes in line with Islam, period. No doubt, no dispute. The traditional way goes according to that. And people are doing it not necessarily because they're so Islamically knowledgeable. It's just, that's the culture, right? So now you, as a person that may be Islamically knowledgeable, can put your family in a place where you don't have to preach all the time. I'm not a preacher, bro. I'm just telling you. I don't have to preach. Like, you hear that there, right? It's time to pray. That's as simple as that. What my son used to go out on the balcony when he was little. My oldest son, he used to go out on the balcony and take a broom and call the adhan with the muezzin, right?
Inshallah.
It was his way of role playing, right? As something that's something great to do. Like, get out and call the people to prayer. But how can you get that if your children are not exposed to any environment like that? They don't hear the adhan unless it's on Juma. They maybe if they're in the masjid, an hour before, and somebody will call the adhan inside the masjid or whatever the case is. So for them, it's not. This is just like an isolated situation. Whereas in the Muslim world, no, they say it loud and proud, and people they don't accept certain behaviors. It's just that's just how it is without you having to be a preacher in the house. It's just the environment goes along with your values and your morals.
You know, you bringing up this theme of environment because that's the word that was in my head with everything you were saying.
Mm,
Environment, right? Like
mm,
it's how important it is to be able to get you to do that. Because many people, like if you look here in the States, like for example, because we love ilm, right? Like when you talk about
mm,
Quran, for example, right? Here it may not necessarily be that, let me not say all, but some people they struggle, they may struggle with, they may memorize a little bit and then they forget, they memorize a little bit then they forget, because it's like they don't have that system where it's like a tarbiyah, like, right, it's like you with a group of people, whereas in Egypt, right, you have a deep Islamic tradition that goes from like preschool all the way to the highest of levels, PhD level. So it's like it's a
mm,
normal thing. Regular people know Quran, So you're able to enter into that, and then whenever you forget, you can be reminded, right? And even with the same thing with being exposed to different viewpoints of sexuality, right? In Egypt,
mm,
you don't have that there, right? They don't have LGBTQ plus, so people aren't
mm,
exposed to that necessarily. So to them, this is very strange, it's very foreign. Whereas here,
mm,
as it's being more integrated into the system, people it becomes normal to people, right? Like in Egypt, if you tell somebody in the States, do you know somebody who's trans? It's like, yeah, I probably know somebody that's trans, but know a couple people that's trans.
mm,
In Egypt,
mm.
people are like, what? This like what is that? Like this is right? So
Bro, try it. Try it, man. I hear you talking, and I agree with you. But whoever's listening, try it.
yeah,
Go somewhere and talk about what's going on in the States to an average person.
no.
They wouldn't even believe you.
It's wow,
I'm just
subhanAllah.
telling you, they wouldn't believe. They just so far off. It's like
Mm-mm.
what? Like so yeah.
But
I'm just saying, bro. Like, go
with
ahead.
environment, right? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, because actually, what you're saying is really the core of the message, and that is changing environments and whatever that means to a person on their level. So if I'm in the hood, if I live on whatever street that's a hood street, whatever that is, right? To move from there to another area, maybe a better area, a less that has less crime, maybe Muslim has more Muslims there. That might be the environment change that they need. So like let's not do all or nothing, bro. That's that is not going to work.
Mhm.
You if you know that this environment is dragging you down, you have to be really self-reflective. Like look at yourself. Said, man, how do I feel? Like, am I missing prayers? Am I, what? Because, bro, that's like, man, praying is what you're supposed to do. Like, it's not even you know what I mean? Like, it's if you're not praying, there's a problem. Like, that's a like a foundational thing, you know. And I know it's not judging. It's just to let you know that that's a foundational part of this, right? That's a pillar, right? So the same with fasting, Ramadan, it's a pillar, bro. We're not even gonna talk about zakat. Like that's somewhere else, because people who it's only certain people that are doing that. Like the average person don't even understand what that is, and it's just it's just far, right? So I'm saying all of these are called pillars, bro. Pillars. You knock a pillar out, that the building's collapsing. So let's just get that straight. So if you find yourself that you're not doing at least your pillars, you need to go somewhere else, man. You need to change environments. You
You
need
know,
to look, man. Check it out. Who? Let me. Let's take
mhm,
a scenario, right? We all eating together, having a good time, whatever. Brothers talking and everything, and it's time for prayer. It's not going to be many people that are not going to pray with the rest of the group. Like even if you don't pray normally, if they're praying, I'm about to pray with them. I'm not going to sit to the side, you know. So it sometimes takes that, okay, seeing the group move, that's going to make you move as well. So that's environment, right? So if I'm in an environment where people, okay, they stopping what they're doing and they're going to pray, well, hey, I'm gonna stop what I'm doing. I'm gonna go to pray. Or it's Ramadan, and that environment is like you can't eat a sandwich. You gotta like, go with the flow. So that's the importance of environment, whether that's in the States or whether you decide to jump to a Muslim country. Of course, for me personally, whoever I'm talking to, if they understand what I'm saying, then my encouragement is like, go to a Muslim country. It's just easy. You go to a Muslim country, everybody's, get with the right people, of
Wait,
course,
in
because you
fact,
do
brother
have
Omar,
bad
let me
elements
ask you that.
everywhere.
This is a great segue.
Go ahead.
Give us your
Yeah.
top Hijrah recommendations. Give us some. I know you got a video on it too. I watched it, mashallah, but to share with the people on this side.
Uh, eh, you know, we do generic ones,
Mhm.
but I think that it really depends on the person and where they're at. Um, some people need a real easy way to get out, and you have those. You have Egypt as an example. Like it's like Egypt is literally like paying to get into a Great America or something, paying to get into a amusement park. You just pay and you get in. That's Egypt. It's simple as that. Then if you want to stay longer, you just go down and renew your residency. That's how Egypt works. So it's really simple. There are places where students are. So, and those places are not always, they don't always look the best. But if a person wants to just be around people that are striving and trying to learn things, we're talking about Cairo, by the way. Um, then it's there. If you want like a modern life or something like that, or modern amenities, they have that as well. You can go to another area and find that, and you still find people that are religious and everything. So it's a weird dynamic, bro, because when you think about wealthy people, you may not always have in your mind this religious guy, but you have people, man, like multimillionaires, billionaires that are praying 5 times a day, and they have it's not. I don't know why people think that everybody's poor or something. I don't get it. Like it's just as you have wealthy people there, you have wealthy people here. So Egypt is an easy to get back to your question. Egypt is an easy place to go, and you can find a general Islamic environment. There are more Islamic environments. Like, of course, if you go to Saudi Arabia, it's going to be more. Like it's going to be more hijabs and more niqabs and this type of stuff. That it's more even stricter. Like when it comes to like stealing and petty theft and stuff, that's like non-existent. Like that stuff doesn't happen. Generally speaking. The Gulf is like that. Qatar and these places, they're like that. But in order to live there, you have to be established a bit in your life. Like you have to have some money. You have to have education in order to live a decent life there. Like you're not going to go there and live and think you're going to live a poverty life. It's not. It wouldn't work for you. So, but again, people can go and check it out for themselves. Um, the Asian countries like Malaysia's beautiful, man.
I've heard
Anybody,
great things about Malaysia. I've heard great things
man,
about
Malaysia
Malaysia.
is awesome, bro. MashaAllah, man. I have to say, there are some cons, of course, but I'm talking about the way they take care of the country, the beauty of the country itself, the natural beauty, and there's definitely the reason I can say the way they take care of the country is because I've been to Thailand as well, and once you cross over to Thailand, you realize you're in a different place, but it's on the same landmass, like they're on the same land, but when you cross over, you say, okay, this is different as soon as you cross over. So it's consistent up into the border. And then when you cross over, you're like, okay, I'm in another place. Right. It's because they have the same, trees and all that, but they're not taking as good care of it in that part. No, because there's some nice places in Thailand, don't get me wrong. But they're not taking care of it the way the Malaysians are taking care of their country. And people can argue. I haven't been in every little place, but I can just tell you that Malaysia is a beautiful place. The con, of course, is that if you're not used to those religions, the Hinduism and Buddhism and these things, it'll come as a shock to you because you're not used to dealing with that. So, you're not familiar with how they are. So if it was Christian, it may be different. But, or, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Because America is primarily the Christian country, but there, no, it's like Hindus and all kind of stuff. But which makes the Muslims there more Islamic. Like they make you see that this is a Muslim country. You know what I mean? And then you have Indonesia and these places, same. They're very beautiful places, very beautiful people. Some of the best people I've met are from those places, manner wise. And if you ever met Malaysians, you probably would agree with me.
Mhm.
Just very mild mannered and nice people, and that's across the board. It's not fake. It's across the board like that. So that would be another. So I would say Egypt, Malaysia, of course, the Gulf countries, um, and if you're looking for like rural life, I would suggest Gambia, Senegal, Morocco's nice. Um, but I think honestly, man, people have to kind of visit, take a vacation. We call it fact finding mission. Go there, go around, and it's also good to get people that are there, other expats, so they can just show you how they operate there. And that's the best thing to do because it's not a one size fits all at all. People hate Egypt. People love Egypt. People hate places in the Gulf. They hate it, but they love Morocco. Turkey's nice. They might hate Turkey. You get what I'm saying.
This is great information, like these different places and knowing what it's like. And, now, I ain't gonna open that door. I was about to ask the impact of the Iran war on how this perception and stuff like that, but we can do that for another time, inshallah, if you down, you know. But what I
Mm,
would ask now is this, right? Because we've talked about Hijrah and we've talked about places to go. The thing I want to ask now is the practical step question, right? And the reason I kind of saved this for last is because I want people to check out your page, of course, and see if they're
mhm.
interested, but also just to see your perspective and what you're sharing, right? To know this is a reality that exists. But, you know, in a simple, because this is not something that can be easily answered, but in just like maybe 5 to 10 steps, what's a simple way somebody can actually go from making hijrah from America to any Muslim country? What would they do? Like, all right, this is what you would just do, right? In a brief way.
Okay. The first step, in my opinion. Now, this is in retrospect. It's not what I did, but um, the first thing you have to do, man, is secure your finances,
Mm,
and you have to you have to get on really strong hustle mode. That's and lower your expenses as much as you can,
mm,
and figure out how to get some type of recurring revenue, right? Even if um, it's not, this wouldn't be recurring revenue, but if you have a job that doesn't require you to be in a place, meaning that you can tell your boss like you're a valuable asset to the company and say, look, I need to start working from home. Is that possible? Whatever, something like that. And I've met brothers that way. I've met brothers like that. That they still have their job, but they moved, they left, and they have that income from that job where they are now. And that's ideal because we didn't even talk about cost of living. Like we didn't even open that door because I can tell you, man, that I don't know why people are staying in the West. I don't know, and I know everybody has their reasons. Everybody, um, sometimes they're excuses, but sometimes they're valid reasons. Because look, man, like for what you can, like I was looking at this person that shows apartments in New York City, and these apartments, man, they're the size of like, man, uh, I don't know, a small bedroom, and they're paying 2,500, $3,000, a month for these little rooms, right? Sometimes there's a shared bathroom, a shared kitchen. And I'm saying how, like, so for that, I would say, could you spend that much rent? It's possible. Like if you just went and got the most expensive thing you could find. But bro, for $1,000, You can live in a 4-bedroom house. I mean, a big house. You know, if you want to, for what, $300, you can live in a 3 or 4 bedroom big apartment. You know, so we don't talk about that. I mean, we talk about that on the channel, but that's generally outside of the conversation. But that is very important, man. Like your cost of living, you might spend total, if it's like a man in a small family, like 2 or 3, maybe 2 children and a wife, he might spend $1,000 a month, man. So if he's bringing in $5,000 6,000 a month, he's gonna automatically save because it's just, you just can't spend it. It's, you can eat out all the time. I'm talking, and I'm not talking about like low quality stuff. No, you can have good. There's good, especially places like Cairo. Cairo's like New York City in terms of like the hustling and everything. It's not what people think, man. You know what I mean? So my fault. I went off a little bit, but the first point is finances. Securing your finances, some type of way, whether it is starting a business or working remotely or gaining some type of skill where you can work remotely, or having your job and then doing something on the side and building it up to where it can, supplement the income. Whatever the case is, you got to really focus on finances. That's number one. And then that way, when you go to a place, you have some type of autonomy. Like you don't have to just deal with stuff. Like you can, all right, I'm going over here. You can move around. You know what I mean? So that's number one. The second thing is to familiarize yourself with the Muslim world, because unfortunately, a lot of the immigrants have given a bad name to their own countries. Like they would say, like, I'll never go back. That's the attitude they have. Which,
Yeah.
if you would never go back, then why would I go to
Yeah.
begin with? So they need. I think, because there are places where there are situations where they've had a really bad experience. It could have been poverty, political things, whatever the case. So they have a bad, you know, um, impression of their country. It's there. So what you have to do is you have to go yourself and see what's going on. You have to connect yourself, even if it's like Hijrah is there, it's like maybe 5% of what I'm thinking, but it's there. Then you need to connect with people that are there. And there's many creators out here, YouTube creators, that are talking about this and living in these places and offering services even. So you need to connect with those people and go visit. Go see what it's about and see if it's something that you'd be interested in. That's the second step. Secure some money. The second step doesn't have to happen after you secure money. It just has to happen. It has to happen where you go and check out the places and see if it's a place that you can fit in, where you can, or is a place that you can live, right? And the only way you can really get a true idea of this is by going with where the expats are. Don't do the local thing, because that's going to be a little different, and it opens the door for people to take advantage of you. It's a lot of things that can happen if you do it that way. Go to people that are out here that are well known in the space and arrange visitations. So that's the second step. And I would do that for some time. I wouldn't just jump into a place, right? I would look around and see what fits me best, and then go through a process of moving there, which would require you to look into residencies and all the different things that are required for you to live in a place. So those are the two major steps. And then the rest is just a natural thing. Like you're gonna come back there and say, wait, hold up, man, I'm paying $5,000 a month for rent or whatever it is. And over here, I just was there, and the people are nice, and the crime is low. Bro, the crime is, the crime is like
Yeah.
petty stuff. Like somebody pickpocket somebody, but you only get that if you're in the wrong place. Like you shouldn't be.
You don't have any armed robberies. You ain't got no carjackings.
Bro,
You
come
ain't got
on, man.
no. Come on.
I mean, one brother told me, I couldn't believe it. He said somebody put a gun on him, and I couldn't believe it.
Oh,
But that's the only, I heard that one time, but, and then we live, I know what a place where they's living. And I'm like, we lived there for a long time, bro. We lived in the hood in Egypt for a long time. And that's because we didn't know any better. It's a somebody coming from wherever to the States and end up in Chicago projects or whatever. Like, it's not by choice. It's just like, okay, we didn't know no better. Like even the Somali refugees,
Mhm.
a lot of Somali refugees that came to Milwaukee, they put them right in the projects.
Yeah.
So, and they're like, well, we don't know what's going on here. And then guess what? Like a lot of the kids got wrapped up into that stuff. You couldn't tell them apart from the other kids there because you put them in that environment. Like we talked about the environment before. So again, like you have to know, like people didn't tell us that this was the bad area. I'm gonna say this last story.
Mhm.
I had to give something to somebody. I forget exactly what it was, but I was he had to meet me at the main street. So, and this guy, he's not from this area. He's like from a more affluent area. So I'm walking up on him, and I see him visibly scared, man. Like just looking this way and that way. And and I'm like, what's wrong with him? So I got in the car and I gave him whatever it was. And he was like, okay, yeah. He wanted to get out of there. And that's not his normal way. Like he would talk to me and spend some time. Like, no, today, no. Because he knows the area. He knows the reputation of the area. And I don't know it. I live there, but I don't even know the reputation. So that's where you need people to say, okay, look, let me give you I know where you're coming from. We're from the same place. Look, these are the what probably fits you best and this, that, and the other. You need that person. So long story short, get your finances together. That's first and foremost. I would say use Allah gave you that, man. Same with the jinsiyah. If you have American nationality, this is what you have. People expect you to go to a place and just drop it. You can't drop it. Then you're stateless. Like, come on, let's be rational here, right? So, and at the same time, I have to say that there are levels of passports. Like certain passports are better than others. We know that. So logically, you would say that if I wanted to trade a passport, it may be a Muslim country passport that's better than an American passport, by the way. America's not number one. So I'm just telling you that. So some people come with these ideas that you're going to go to a place and rip up your passport. And that's not what it is, bro. Get wherever you are, take advantage of where you come from. Maybe you can open a business there and you got some peoples that's there that's not going nowhere that can run the business and you can live off of uh, that profit from the business. I wouldn't say just depend on one thing, but I'm just saying be creative. It's not that it's one way to do it. So that's it, man.
You bringing up that last story up, or all the stories you brought up, it reminds me of when I was listening to a video on your page about, I think it was during the revolutions in Egypt, right? And the you said how even though it was kind of like wild things going on, at night where you lived, the gentlemen would come together and defend the community, right? And I thought that was a real big point because a lot of times people like to bring up stuff like political instability as well, also. But and of course, that's something I also wonder too, right? Because our
Mhm.
countries, anything can happen, right? But in America, anything can happen now. Also, I think America has reached that point, but just that point of people gathering together, making this community, defending each other, that's beautiful. But back to the points you mentioned, about business, about going and getting your fact finding mission, and then just sitting back and then doing that assessment. I think all of those steps are magnificent, and I think we can all learn and benefit from those. I mean, I myself, I'm gonna look to it and see, potentially talk with my
Mhm.
wife, and we see from there because that's really, it's beautiful. Now,
Right.
as we get, let me ask you this now, brother Omar. What have been the most important lessons you've learned from this whole journey of making Hijrah, the project, you making Hijrah, everything? Give us, like, maybe one or two or three very important lessons that you've learned.
I've learned that you can break cycles. You can break cycles, like, and you can break it. you can break it in a generation. So it's a little different, I think, maybe coming from your background, but these are cycles people are struggling to try to break. And some people, they just go with the flow. They're not even trying to break it. It's just a cycle, you know. And I see that as getting worse. So, um, and I have to just give some background of what I'm trying to say. Like the whole single parent thing was starting with my generation, right? My mother, right? So it was a point in time where if you had a baby out of wedlock, the baby was given to a stable family and within the family. It wasn't like you just walking around as a single mother. It didn't happen like that early on. Then my mother's generation, it started. So I had a lot of friends that were in single parent families. It's just they were more loose with how they dealt. They weren't like now. Now it's different, but they just got into a relationship and it didn't work out. But you left your relationship with a baby. It was more like that. Nowadays, it's just every all things will do whatever you want. So that cycle is getting harder and harder to break, and it's getting worse and worse over time, and we can see it. It's just you could just lay it on the table and see it. So I learned that you can break those cycles. Why is it that if someone asks me, do you know anybody that's ever been to jail, right, in the States? I'm like, of course. Like I have friends, what I mean, family members.
Yeah.
That's common. Like, what are you talking about? But that's not common for everybody. Do you know what I mean? It's
True.
not common for everybody.
That's true.
So it's just become a common thing. Like, yeah, expect it. You expect it. In some cases, man, the people that when you go to county jail, you know everybody. You know people there. Like, yo, what's up, man? Like, it's just like a vacation or something like that. For really, bro.
Yeah.
Look at it like this. When I was growing up, you have violence, right? And but the songs weren't violent in the beginning. The music wasn't violent. The music was party music.
Mm.
Like I could name some people, but I don't know if you would even know what I'm talking about. But then the violent music started to come, right? And I'm watching this thing, and this violent music is having an effect that I can see, right? So I used to ride skateboards. I used to know guys that rode skateboards, and then some people got really into riding skateboards, right? So I knew those guys, and in high school time, we went to a party, and all these guys were gangsters. All the skateboarder guys flipped to gangsters. I'm talking about sitting there doing drugs, whatever. That wasn't,
Uh,
but that influence came. That influence came through the music they were listening to, right? And it's obvious because they didn't come from street backgrounds. So it's obvious something else is influencing you, which was the music. Later on, when I became an adult, I would see people my age driving their children to school, listening to this music with their kids in the car. So the kids are listening to the music. Then I remember going back to the States and visiting a family member. When I went into the house, the radio was on, and the young boy, he had to been maybe 8 years old. He's saying the lyrics to the songs that are on the radio. And then at that point, it had become like mostly gangster, violent type music. Now, look at Chicago. Chicago is a great example. And it's all over now. It's not even just Chicago, isolated to Chicago. But these
Quick,
guys
also,
are,
mashallah, shout out to
go
the
ahead.
brothers in Chicago, brother Sadiq Ali and that team. I mean, they're doing great things
Oh,
right
yeah,
now. A
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
them,
Yeah,
mashallah,
shout out to
taking
the brother,
shahada.
bro.
So shout out to them. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
continue. Yeah, I just want to shout them
And it
out.
needs that. Chicago needs that, man. Like it's going to like, man, uh, it was like a video game out there.
Yeah.
Like cats keeping score, killing this one, killing that one. But that was never the case when I was growing up, even though there was violence. It just turned into something else. And now the rap song is not about, because back in the day they used to say, okay, yeah, we're reporting on what's happening, because LA back then, like Crips and Bloods and stuff that was the thing back then. Like, but nowadays, these guys are rapping about what's actually happening, what they're actually doing, right? So I'm saying that to say the cycle continues. And I learned that you can break the cycle, even from a guy that was probably deep into the streets now. And he becomes Muslim and he gets married and he has children. He can break that cycle completely. They can grow up. Look at this. All right. And I'm in here, man. But that's the main important point, breaking the cycle. That's what I learned. I went into the kitchen one day and my daughter was in there with her mother and they were working really hard. And I told my daughter, I said, or I just said it. I was like, you working like a dope fiend, right? And she looked at me and she said, what's a dope fiend?
SubhanAllah.
You know what I'm saying? She was like, what's a dope fiend? So it clicked in my head. I'm saying, subhanAllah, like, look, they don't even know what that is, let alone be exposed to dealing with that type of stuff. And then there's one more. I took my son up to we had an apartment that had 2 floors. And so I took my son up to the top floor. We never go up there to enter into the apartment. You always go through the bottom floor. So we went up to the top floor and it was like a picture, like a cutout of a Santa Claus head, right? I think that the neighbors on that side at the top, I think they were Christian or something like that. So it was a Santa Claus head there. And I'm looking, my thing is like, why is that there? That's what I'm thinking. And my son is like, who is that? he don't even know who that is. I'm just saying,
SubhanAllah.
man, like,
Wow.
bro, that now, let alone, look, they don't understand. I'm not talking about holy stuff, man. Just be clear. I'm not talking about being so holy and so detached. It's not that. That's not it. It's just that the exposure doesn't exist. So if I gave them a necklace, a diamond necklace, and was like, yo, here you go, they'll be like, what am I supposed to do with that? What, other kids wish they had it. They wish they had the
Oh, yeah,
diamonds and
a
the
Cuban link,
necklaces
you
and the
put that
gold
on?
teeth.
Oh, man, come on, man.
Man, they wouldn't know what to do, bruh. I'm just saying, it's like, it's not that, again, it's not a holiness or this, it's kind of a disconnect that that's not important to them. They wouldn't even know what to do with it. They'd be like, what am I supposed to do? I'm not going to wear it. So they wouldn't even think to sell it or something like that. So again, it's not that they're so holy. I'm not trying to raise them or nothing like that. But I'm just trying to explain that exposure to being in those environments gives that value to those things that are worthless, really. Those things that don't mean anything, right? And a lot of times, if they just don't know about it, it's like their life goes on. So again, that's what I learned. Like, so if you have this type of behavior that's in a cycle that's constantly happening over and over and it's like snowballing. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And then we can see that it's getting worse and worse and worse. It is possible to break it. It's possible to disconnect from that and raise people that are on their fitrah, raise people that value family, that value you as a father and respect you and respect their mother and protect their mother. And you have men, bro, like guys that's like, look, they working out, they're doing their self-defense and martial arts or what have you. These are men right here. These respect their family, respect you. They're not looking at your wife. They're not trying to get your daughter. None of that. You know what I mean? That happens when you create that disconnect. When they see a woman come on to them, they're like, no. My son went to the States. Again, I'm just as an example. I'm not saying that they're perfect or nothing, but he went to the States for the purpose of marriage, so he can get some money and marry somebody that he wanted to marry, that we knew, a family we knew. So he had that. He had women coming on to him. Unfortunately, he had men coming on to him, which was really strange.
Yeah.
But he had that as well. And they just bounced off him. Like, no, I'm here for a purpose. I'm trying to do this. Like, y'all a distraction. They couldn't penetrate it. It's because, number one, respect for women. That's common. A woman, look, let me tell you this story real quick, man. My fault. Check this out. We were doing some recording, right, in an area. So people are like really concerned about you recording and filming like their personal things, like their personal house. Or so some people pulled up on us and was like, "What you doing? Why are you recording over here?" And then my Milwaukee self, I'm like, "Man, don't talk to me. Who is you?" That's
Yeah, yeah.
my
Like
Milwaukee
who
thing.
is the? Yeah, who are you?
They're
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
like, "Man, they'll talk to me, man."
yeah.
And then, but my son is like, he was raised around over here. So his thing is like, "Wait, hold up. Let me see what you mean and what, let me explain to you and this type of thing." And I didn't already walk to the car. I'm like, "Man, get in the car, man. Who is it?" So anyway, it turned into this big thing, right? So the security guy takes the camera from my son. So I get out the car and I'm like, "Man, give me that camera." I took it. So then it's still not going nowhere because my son is kind of like still trying to be diplomatic, which he's right, by the way. He told me before we even started, he was like, "Don't do that. We shouldn't film over here," because people, he knew already. But I'm like, "Man, we ain't, don't." So anyway, that's me. So a lady comes, a lady comes, and she says, she does it in a kind of slick way. She's like, "Well, let me see what y'all did because this is my house over here." So she took the camera and she wouldn't give it back. And nobody is going to do anything to that woman. That's what you have to understand. It sounds strange. And in our mind, it's like, no, I'm gonna take it from her just like I took it from him. But here you can't do that. If you do anything to that woman, you're gonna have 15, 16 dudes on you. That's just the bottom line. So that's an environment that you grow up in that you're not really used to because men and women, a woman is gonna fight like a man's gonna fight over there. Over here, she knows that you're not gonna touch her. So we had to sit there. We had to wait for the police to come. We had to, all this stuff. We went through this whole big deal because the woman took the camera. So I'm just saying that to say, man, like it's these nuances that people don't know about and they don't consider. If a woman screams, she just screams. It's going to be 30, 40 people coming, bro. I'm telling you. It's a different situation. Respect for women. Like it's on a whole nother level. Forget what you're saying with your tongue. Let me show you what it is. A guy jumped into, no, we saw him coming off of the porch of the lady. She screamed, everybody came. This guy was, you know, and then the police came. So anyway, I'm saying all that to say that this is what I learned. That's the major thing I learned, that any cycle that you're seeing, any problems that are happening on a consistent basis, it can be changed. Even if people are like, "Look, we're doomed." Like a lot of stuff in the States, I'm like, "Man, I don't know how y'all gonna recover." But in reality, if a person takes their family out of those environments in a different environment, it could still be in the States, maybe. But if you took them to a culture, a society that's built on Islamic values, you can break the cycle completely.
You know, you saying that it brings this really big smile to my face because I think about the Sirah, right? And I think about the Sahaba because this is exactly what their lives were, right? Like if you
Mhm.
look at Mecca Jahiliyyah compared to
Mm.
Islam, it's night and day, right? They seen
Right.
a lot of the things we're talking about and more, right? They seen these things in excess, but they were able to change it, like you said, in a generation, which gives credibility to what you're saying exactly. Like that's like the gold stamp on it, like boom. He's not just talking something that's fake. We've seen this, right? We follow
Right.
the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Him and his team, they did this,
Somehow.
radiallahu anhum, right? Like, and as you think about it, I think of somebody like Umar Khattab, radiallahu anhu, right? And the reason I bring him up is, he grew up in Jahiliyyah, right? And he was a warrior. He was strong. He grew up rough. But then if you look at the progression after, look at his son, Abdullah ibn Umar, right? Like
Mm.
he was very scholarly, very deep with the Deen, followed the Sunnah very well. He's very knowledgeable, mashallah. Then you have his grandson or great grandson, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, right? Mashallah, somebody that
Mm.
came after. But these people are extracted from that Jahiliyyah, right? These people are deeply embedded in the Deen and great figures in the Deen, including himself, right? So when you mention that, I think, and you talk about your son, how he a lot of things you'll mention to him or your other children, right? And may Allah protect them, right? May Allah protect
I
them and
mean, I
increase
mean,
them, right? Like having that ikhlas, that innocence, that haya, right? That's a characteristic
mm,
of the Deen, right? Like it's just beautiful to see, and it's very encouraging, and it's something great that I think we can let people know that you can still achieve this, right? Just because you've lived a certain way, or just because life has been a certain way, or for your parents or whatever, it doesn't mean it will stay that way. Allah
mm,
has enabled you to be alive, and with dua to Him and with work, Allah can give you the tawfiq to be able to break that, right? And at
mm,
least those who come after you will be on a different trajectory, right? Like there's some people who, I forget the example, but it was along the lines of, all it takes is one person, let's say, to, you know, become Muslim. And now generations of people have taken Islam because of this one person's
mm.
action and their decision, right? And now it's a blessing on the rest of the family. So I think that's beautiful, and Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much, Brother Omar.
Right,
I mean, I
right.
really appreciate the stories you shared. They've been super insightful and entertaining, and I think people can take great benefit from it. You know, let me ask you this, any last minute things you wanted to add about Hijrah or anything that we didn't get to touch on real briefly?
Um, no, I think we covered a lot of bases, and I think that I think it now is kind of like a logistics thing for a lot of people. People see what's going on. Um, I'm surprised, man. I'm even shocked at some of the things that are going on there, and I'm really really anti-bully, man. I'm really anti-bully, man. I'm like we beat up the bully. That's kind of like how we should be. Like we don't allow people to be bullied. Like we stand with the oppressed. So a lot of the things that are happening now, it's like it's just straight bully stuff, man. You know, and then we end up feeling the brunt of that as Muslims, and then we're demonized at the end. Like we're wrong. you know, when a lot of the things happening, man, are coming right from there. So that would be my final thing. Like, look, if any of us have any any conscience, we should look at things and be fair. Like a lot of people like to criticize a lot of the Muslim governments, and if they're wrong, they're wrong, man. Like I don't stand up for none of them if they're wrong. But at the same time, it's that how can I overlook the puppet master?
Yeah.
You know, the one that's pulling all the strings, and the one that put us in these situations and strive to maintain it. And unless we just don't know, but I'm sure by now everyone should know and see what's going on, and we just should be like, you know what, I don't want no part of this. It's and you have that freedom. A lot of people just don't know that they can actually go somewhere else. You know, I can just go live somewhere else. I don't have to be here. I can go, and unless a person has some type of greater objective for what they're doing, I'm not trying to like stop, push anybody away from doing what they have in mind. But I'm just saying, if you're a person, a regular person, and you're concerned about your family, you don't want to. A lot of us care so much about our children, and at the end, it's our decisions a lot of times that contribute to how they are and what they become. As babies, they're like, oh, Umi, Abby, this, that. And then once they start getting influenced by other people, they turn into something else. It's still Abby, Umi, but they have two faces now. They know you don't like this behavior, but they go do it on the side and things like that. And really, it's our fault that we put them in those type of environments where that can happen. Like we should be trying to push them, put them in the cleanest environments, because at some point they'll be old enough to understand why you did what you did. You know, nobody says no, no, none of my children at least say that they don't like the decision I made. You know, they understand it, especially my oldest son that's been there. He's like, I understand, and I appreciate you for that. You know. So anyway, man.
Mashallah. Brother Omar, before you go, I got this tradition
Mm,
that I do with everybody who is a guest on. Please share
mm.
either, well, let me reset my intention. Please set Please
Uh,
share one thing either from the Sunnah or ayat of Quran, something that people can just take like practice, and we can take the benefit from as like a sadaqah jariyah, just something.
mm. Man, that's really, really difficult
Okay.
because everything is beneficial.
No, no. It could be
Everything is
something you
beneficial,
do,
bro.
even an action. Just
You know, I think that um, I think that we should strive our best to be beneficial to the people in whatever way we can. And the best of the people are those who are most beneficial to the people, right? So be of benefit to the community, be of benefit to your family. Um, that's probably that's not the best advice because it's bro, everything is beneficial, but this is something that we need these days because a lot of us are real individualistic, and we only care about ourselves and what benefits ourselves, and we should really be trying to benefit the community as much as we can. And people, a collective that thinks along those lines is a different type of community. Everybody's trying to benefit each other. Nobody wants to see harm come to the next one. So I think that's one of the great benefits. Alhamdulillah.
you know, Brother Omar, please tell the people where can they find you at? Where can they find Make Hijrah at?
Okay, we have a lot of things going on. So I think I think the best way to become aware of everything is just to follow us on our YouTube channel. And it's you could just search "Make Hijrah" and we should pop up. Hijrah is spelled Hijrah, so Make Hijrah, and then you'll get to find all the other things that we're doing.
Allah. Well, everybody, y'all, thank you for listening. This is Big Salaams. Y'all, please check out Make Hijrah on YouTube, their website as well. Check out the Hijrah roadmap that they have and many other things. Great, very beneficial. If you're interested, learn more. May Allah bless you all. We'll see you guys later. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.